I'm not even worried about Errol Spence no more. I already told everybody that fight is history for me. You know, I'm not thinking nor worried about Errol Spence anymore. You know, that fight is behind me.
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Bluebird Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So you heard it straight from the horse's mouth. Undefeated, 3-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the WBO welterweight world champion, who is widely considered the number one pound-for-pound fighter in the world, Terence Bud Crawford, did an interview in which he was asked about the possibility of the mega fight, the super fight between him and undefeated WBC, IBF welterweight world champion superstar boxer Errol Spence Jr. And you heard what Terence Crawford had to say when asked about the possibility of facing Errol Spence Jr. You heard it from the horse's mouth.
I'm not even worried about Errol Spence no more. I already told everybody that fight is history for me. You know, I'm not thinking nor worried about Errol Spence anymore. You know, that fight is behind me.
So for all the people that's saying that Errol Spence Jr. is preventing the fight from happening, that he's avoiding fighting Terence Crawford made it abundantly clear he has no interest in fighting Errol Spence Jr. He made it abundantly clear that that fight is behind him, is history. He stated that he informed everybody that that fight is behind him. He has no interest in the fight anymore. This is the mega, massive super fight within the sport of boxing. The issue I have with this is that Terence Crawford does not mind turning his attention to legendary 8-division world champion, iconic Filipino superstar boxer Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao, who Manny Pacquiao has been playing a dancing game with Terence Crawford since 2014. Since Terence Crawford became a world champion at 135 against Ricky Burns, his promoter, legendary promoter, top-ranked CEO and promoter, Bob Arum, has been stating that it's a possibility that Terence Crawford could fight Manny Pacquiao from 2014 to 2015. We'll say realistically from 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, and to 2021. Okay? So all of these years, Terence Crawford has been making it abundantly clear that his number one objective is to face Manny Pacquiao, okay? And Manny Pacquiao has been giving him the runaround even up to date, okay? So with that said, Terence Crawford was asked about the possibility of facing Manny Pacquiao, and he said that's his number one objective in his career. With that said, we know that promoter Bob Arum, he stated that Manny Pacquiao was seeking $20 to $25 million, in which Bob Arum was not willing to pay Manny Pacquiao for that money and all of that money. And then up to date, fast forward to date, the money couldn't come up with, but now Bob Arum stated that they had $50 million investment group willing to put that money up front. And Manny Pacquiao switched his number from 20 to 25 million to 40 million and give Terence Crawford 10 million. Now, if Bob Arum was able to seek out the money he was looking for to pay Terence Crawford, to pay Manny Pacquiao the 20 to 25 million, that left him with 20 to 25 million. Let's just say he wanted 25 million. Well, that left Terence Crawford and Bob Arum with 25 million for themselves. But Manny Pacquiao, he decided, well, no, if we got 50 million now, I need 40 of the 50 million and give Terence Crawford 10 million. And Terence Crawford doesn't have an issue with accepting the $10 million coming from Manny Pacquiao, okay? But when it comes down to Errol Spence, this fight has just been talked about for the better part of maybe 2 years, if that, okay? Is realistically the better part of 2 years. And now Errol Spence has stated that he won a 60-40 split in the negotiations with Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford said it got to be 50-50, or it's just what he just said, there is no fight. But that begs the question, why would you consider pursuing Manny Pacquiao for 6 years? Okay, let's just say 6 years, okay? For 6 years, you've been pursuing Manny Pacquiao, who's 42 years old, who's not a world champion, and has been giving you the runaround for the better part of 6 years. Either he was giving you the runaround, or your promoter, Bob Arum, was giving you the runaround. Somebody's giving Terence Crawford the runaround because he's yet to secure the fight with Manny Pacquiao. And yet, he hasn't gotten fatigued of trying to land and secure the fight with Manny Pacquiao. Even if you secure the fight, if you're Terence Crawford right now with Manny Pacquiao, he's still 42 years of age. He hasn't fought in 2 years. Last time we saw Manny Pacquiao in the ring was 2019 when he defeated Keith Thurman, July of 2019. We're in 2021, okay? Manny Pacquiao also recently stated that he's turned his attention, the leader to land the Manny Pacquiao fight is 4-division world champion Mexican superstar boxer Mikey Garcia, who lost in dramatic fashion to Errol Spence Jr. It came back, had a lackluster performance against Jesse Vargas, and yet Manny Pacquiao is willing to accept less money to fight Mikey Garcia. But if he fights Terence Crawford, he wants the lion's share of the money, and Terence Crawford doesn't mind conceding to Manny Pacquiao, okay? But when it comes to Errol Spence and the super fight, because the fight between Terence Crawford and Manny Pacquiao is a huge fight, it's not a super fight. Terence Crawford and Errol Spence is a super fight. So for Terence Crawford to turn down a fight with Errol Spence Jr., which is a super fight, for a fight in which he's going to get $10 million. That's an 80-20 split in favor of Manny Pacquiao. He doesn't mind taking that from a guy that's 42 years old, who's been knocked out 3 times in his career. Yes, he's a legend, but he's been knocked out 3 times in his career. He's 42 years old. He does not have a world championship, and he's been giving you the runaround for the better part of 6 years, and you don't mind conceding to Manny Pacquiao. But when it comes to Errol Spence Jr., when Errol Spence says 60-40, that's enough for you to walk away from the negotiation tables and say that you're done with Errol Spence Jr., who's only 30 years of age, 31 years of age. Terence Crawford will be 34 years of age in September 28th to be exact. He will be 34 years of age September 28th. Okay? Manny Pacquiao is 42 years old. Errol Spence is seen as the biggest fight in the sport of boxing with Terence Crawford, and yet Terence Crawford is willing to walk away from that, in which he could still make $10 million or upwards of more than $10 million if he fought Errol Spence in the super fight. Okay, but he let Bob Arum tell him he can't make $10 million if he fought Errol Spence Jr. Okay, this is a super fight between Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. He could stand to make upwards over $10 million. He'd rather take an 80-20 split against Manny Pacquiao, and then Manny Pacquiao is leading him on and saying that, well, he's leaning towards fighting Mikey Garcia. Once again, and you side with your promoter, Bob Arum, when Bob Arum clearly had this to say when it came to Terence Crawford and Manny Pacquiao.
Well, I killed the fight. Yeah. So you wouldn't want that for Manny.
You heard what Bob Arum had to say when it came to Terence Crawford fighting Manny Pacquiao. Bob Arum made it abundantly clear that he was the one that blocked the fight from happening. Listen to what Bob Arum had to say regarding the fight between Terence Crawford and Manny Pacquiao.
And you wouldn't want to see him get hurt.
He said that he didn't want to see Terence Crawford get hurt. He didn't want to see Manny Pacquiao get hurt at an advanced age, okay? This is Bob Arum saying this 2 years ago after Manny Pacquiao had beaten Adrian Broner and was on the verge of fighting Keith Thurman. And Bob Arum says he clearly prevented the fight from happening. Okay? Listen to what he had to say.
Well, I killed the fight. Yeah. So you wouldn't want that for Manny? No, because I would know how it would end.
So you heard it. You don't want the Terence Crawford fight for Manny. He said no, because I know how it would end. That was 2 years ago. That means Manny Pacquiao was 39, 40 years old, okay? And Bob Arum had reservations 2 years ago about making a fight between Terence Crawford and Manny Pacquiao because he said he didn't want to see Manny Pacquiao get hurt. He does a lot for his country, for his people. He says he's a good friend of his, and he knows how the fight will end. So he clearly let it be known he blocked the fight from coming to fruition. And yet, Terence Crawford, 2 years ago, Bob Arum said this, but Terence Crawford is still have Manny Pacquiao as his number one objective. And then Terence Crawford, he states that Bob Arum, he knows that Bob Arum is trying to make all the big fights for him in his career. So he's not blaming Bob Arum. He's blaming everybody else. Okay, so let's say Bob Arum just made it abundantly clear that he's the reason that Terence Crawford has never fought Manny Pacquiao, okay? But let's just say it was Manny Pacquiao that was blocking the fight. Well, Manny Pacquiao, he stated that according to Bob Arum, he wants $20 to $25 million. He didn't feel like that fight was worth that much money. He don't feel like he could get a return on his investment for that fight as well. he don't want to pay Manny Pacquiao $20 to $25 million. He even admitted that and confirmed that Manny Pacquiao got $20 to $25 million in a fight against Adrian Broner and against Keith Thurman. And he says it only did 450,000 pay-per-view buys. So Bob Arum says that it wasn't a great investment, and he was happy that he didn't have to fit the bill for that Manny Pacquiao fight. So with that said, now fast forward, Bob Arum says there's $50 million on the table, and Manny Pacquiao changes the number from 20 to 25 million to now 40 million. So he wants an 80-20 split, and you have it. Terence Crawford does not mind taking an 80-20 split when it comes to Manny Pacquiao. But that's all I got for y'all. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notification. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Raw. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.